Um, okay, so I'm going to be attempting to do something that I never thought about doing, and that is that I want to divulge a whole bunch of things that I've been holding on all these years, not realizing that they actually have been impacting me more than I thought. Um, and when I say that some of this stuff is just horrible, it's horrible. Um, if you are sensitive to some of these things, I just want to forewarn you that there are some things that might turn your stomach, some things that might be hard for you to hear. And if you know me, some of this stuff is going to hit home, especially for family members. But I'm going through a healing process. And so if you haven't been able to get in contact with me, or you notice that I'm not on my social media much anymore, that's why. And I'm okay with that. Because also, if you know me, you know I don't have no qualms. It's nothing for me to go ghost and for you not to hear from me for a long time. And it's nothing personal. It's just who I am. I did take a couple of notes, and because this is going to be a long process, I don't want these videos to be too long, but they might end up being long. I may have to chop them up. But anyway, so I'm going to start off with talking about my childhood, because pretty much that's where everything stemmed from. Me and my mother were in foster care together. My mother had me when she was 15. And so the story behind how my mother ended up in foster care is vague to me. Like, I only know bits and pieces, and I don't really know what's true and what's not. I just know that my mother and her brother were separated from her other two sisters. My mother was the baby girl. My uncle was the baby boy and the only boy. And those two were the only ones that were separated from the sisters. I'm not sure why or how all this happened. I don't know the story behind it. All I know is that my mother and her brother were closer than her with her sisters. I only met one of my aunts once that I can remember. The oldest one, I only met her once, and then next to the oldest, I met her a couple of times, but we were not close. It's not like we spent a lot of time together or anything, because like I said, my mother didn't really get along with them like that. So, and I think she kind of felt like her and her brother were the outcasts of the family. Um, but nonetheless, I want to say that around the time that my mother and I were in foster care together, my uncle either was locked up or was running the streets or whatever. They were separated into different homes or something. I can't remember. I just don't remember her ever telling me that her and her brother were in the same foster home. But me and her were definitely in the foster home together. The craziest thing about this is that I have memories from when I was a baby, like an infant. But I only have one memory. One memory of when I was a baby. And it was me sitting on my foster mother's lap. And she was playing with me. This foster mother was the first foster mother to me. So if we want to look at it in like a hierarchical type of way, she would have actually been my foster grandmother. My grandmother, basically. Again, that's how I looked at her as I looked at her as my mother eventually, but in that sense, because my mother was also there, she would have been like my foster grandmother. But nonetheless, I have that memory, and I remember her. I remember her like leaving me, and me me looking for her, and she wasn't there. And from what I remember her telling me, she said that she had to go to the store or something, and she left me there with her husband. And I don't know if I didn't like him or what, but I was crying, and I cried the whole time she was gone. I cried. She said that he told her I would not stop crying until she walked back through that door, and then I stopped crying. She said one time she remembered putting me on the floor, and I had started crawling, and she said that I was crawling all around the floor, and they tried to put something on my leg. I don't know if they tried to like keep me in one spot or something, but they was trying to, I don't know, I guess keep me still, but I was dragging it on the floor with me. But it's crazy because she was my first foster mother, and she was the only foster mother that I actually kept in contact with. I felt closer to that lady than my own mother until the day she died. But I'll talk about that later. But nonetheless, me and my mother were in foster care together. Like I said, she had me when she was 15. The ages escaped me for when everything happened. But I can tell you that this happened in between the time that I was a baby and 7. So between the ages of infancy to 7 years old is when I had my first experience with abuse. I have memories of being hit, and this is not so everything started to happen after I left my first foster mother's house, and me and my mother had to go to another foster mother's house. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the reason why we had to leave the first foster mother's house is because my mom didn't want to give me up. My first foster mother was trying to adopt me so she could keep me, because she said that my mother was 15 She was still young. She wanted to party. She wanted to go out. She did not want to be a mother. She, so she was essentially trying to take me and be able to give me a good household, a good family orientation and everything. So, but my mother didn't see that. She saw that as, oh, you trying to take my baby. But I have my opinions about why she did that. Nonetheless, that was the reason why we had to leave the first foster mother's house, is because she was trying to adopt me from my mother, and my mother didn't want that. So we ended up having to leave that family and went to another family. Now I'm not sure how many foster homes we were in, but it had to be at least 4. And it might have been 5, but I can't remember all of them. I remember some of the people, but I don't remember all of the foster homes we were in. I was molested at 2 of the foster homes. From what I remember, I was molested at 2 of the foster homes. So the first memory that I have of abuse is me getting beat or hit. Like, I have this memory of me being like up against a tree or something, and just stuff being thrown at me, And I brought it up to my mom one time, and I said, I keep having this like vision of me being hit. And I said, did I get hit in my head or something? I asked her. She said, well, you were abused. You were abused in when we were in a foster place. And during this time, I believe my mom was in school. She had to go to school. Yeah, she was in school. And so I was there by myself. And I just remember getting hit. And to this day, I have a gash. It's not a gash. It's like a mark in my head, in the back of my head. It's always been there. It's always been there. But I don't remember the pain from it. I just see the vision of it happen. And my mom confirmed that it happened. I don't remember the people because I was too young. So that's the first thing. And then the next thing I remember, I don't know if these people were foster parents or if these were just people who were helping my mom at the time. I can't remember, but I want to say they were foster parents too. Nonetheless, these were members of the church that my mom went to. And I just remember I want to say it was me and my sister. At this time, my sister was born. And we're 3.5, 4, we're 4 years apart. So I'm not sure if she was born or not. Don't quote me because I don't remember seeing her. What I do remember is in this particular house, there was 2 girls. That family had 2 girls. It was a mom and a dad, husband and wife. And they lived next to the church that my mom attended. But this particular night, I was at their house. We were supposed to be in the bed. And one of the sisters, I believe the oldest sister, started fondling me. Like, I didn't know what it was at that time, but now I know what it was. So she was touching me. She started touching me. And just, it was so weird. I didn't know what was going on. Okay, I was a child. I had to be about 3 or 4. I was young. But I remember her touching me, touching my privacy. She was on top of me. I mean, it, it was weird. It was very weird for me. I didn't know what was going on. The sister was right there. I mean, she was watching everything. She saw everything. But I didn't know what was going on. And I never told anybody about it. Not even my mom. It just was weird. Um, I tended to be very quiet. I was quiet. I was shy. I didn't talk much. I just was observing. I used to watch everything. Just, I was always watching and being observant about everybody around me, paying attention to everything that they did. I knew that the parents were very strict, especially the mom. The mom was very strict with them. They were the kind of kids that didn't really have friends. They were heavy into the church. Um, they went to school, they came home, and they were in the house. I don't remember when I was there. I don't remember them playing with anybody and having people over or none of that. So the next, hold on,